Rob, I know it's your first time to the Walldorf Weekender. Have you been to Europe before, and where?
I have never been here before. This is first time to Europe, first time to Germany. Most of the time, I spend most of the time near home in California. I did go to Japan for a tour and to display some art about a year and a half ago. So.
Okay, so did you have the time to check Walldorf out a bit, or Germany so far?
Yeah, I've been to the main street in Walldorf, and what is it? It starts with an H. I'm sorry, the city. It's
Heidelberg?
like Heidelberg. Yeah, that's where the castle's at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I spent a day there on the main street there, and then took a hike up to the castle, and it was amazing. I didn't know what to expect coming here. I imagined every town being like cobblestones and very old world, and then I'm finding that Germany is a mixture of both, modern technology and modern architecture, and then all that early 1800s architecture, and it's beautiful. You get the best of both worlds, and the air is fresh here, and everything seems really clean and well kept. It's a beautiful country.
So I guess you like it, listening to you. You play with the Dynotones, a well-known Californian band. Tell us something about the custom culture in California, or the music surrounding of the West Coast.
Okay. Well, basically, I started out playing surf music. I'm based out of Long Beach, but the band is based out of Orange County. I started playing surf music with two sons of the Pyramids. The Pyramids were a band in the '60s that were in a Nat and Frankie movie, and called and the name of the movie was Bikini Beach. So at the time, this was in the early '90s. I was just playing rock and roll with them, and then we started implicating surf music into that band. The audience loved that more than the originals we were doing, so we just became a surf band. And the two sons of Steve Leonard, they moved out. Their dad at the time lived in Las Vegas, so they moved out of Long Beach, and I stayed there. So I started collecting a lot of records and going to record swap meets and trying to really, I wanted to increase my library and get more into the music, and that's when I met Dan and Dano. They were both music collectors of surf music, and we met collecting records, and then we started just jamming in a garage and stuff like that. And then it grew and grew, and we decided to make it a permanent project and start doing originals. Dano's always been into building cars. I was more into the music aspect of it, and Dan at the time had an old car and was into music, so we all kind of fit together. And we were going to car shows, and in the '60s, when they were building all the hot rods and all the customs and stuff like that, they were listening to old '50s music, but at the time surf music was coming out. And so a lot of guys that lived close to the beach were listening to surf music and building cars. So that's what we wanted to do, is what they were doing more in the '60s. And so we started playing that music at car shows, and a lot of people started liking it around. Rockabilly's always been part of the car scene, but we added we added back to the culture that used to be there. So and we had the whole hot rod theme, so it all works, We became part of the culture. So
that's cool. I know that besides being a musician, you're a very good custom artist. I read that some of your idols are Ed Roth and Von Franco. How did you get involved in art, and when, and how did you start?
Okay, I'll be completely honest. I was playing with the Dynotones, and at the time I was just working at a restaurant, and I wasn't very happy there. And Dan, our guitar player, he got me a new job working for a company called Poster Pop. And at the time, Poster Pop only had 2 or 3 artists. They were putting out stickers by artists like Coop, Frank Kozik, and I think they just started doing the Piz. And Piz is also in custom culture. And we were doing a lot of car shows, and you had people like Robert Williams at the car shows, Ed Roth, and then Coop was also there. So I started working for this company doing the pop art, and those artists were also doing custom culture, and I was seeing all that art at all the car shows that we were playing at. And after being around it for like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, I decided to try my own hand at it. And working at Poster Pop and doing the car shows, I became friends with Piz. I live in Long Beach, California, and the Piz literally lives about 6 blocks from me. So I became friends with him, and I started going over to his house, and we would have barbecues and hang out and drink beers and stuff like that. And sometimes he would be in the middle of a deadline, and he'd start doing art, and I just started watching how he did it. And I watched the entire process from how he drew to how he inked and colored everything in. And I would go home and I started practicing. He didn't know that I was paying close attention. But so I didn't really intern with him, and he didn't teach me. I just paid really close attention and learned on my own at home. I tried to duplicate everything I saw, and that's basically how I got started in doing the custom culture art.
Well, I guess a lot of people are very jealous of that, you know, Piz and everybody else there, because for us over here in Europe, they're all like myths. It's really cool. Yeah, you mentioned Poster Pop. I know you've designed tiki mugs for Tiki Farm, like the Dino mugs, for example.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No. Yeah, the mug actually was done by Dirty Donnie. Mm-hmm. He was another artist. I found out about him through the Piz, and then I liked his art a lot at the time. He was into the weirdos and Ed Roth like I was, and I took his art to my work at Poster Pop, and got my boss into him. So they started doing his stickers and stuff, and then, you know, we've always liked his art as a band, so we gave Donnie the opportunity to design the mug, and we've played shows for Tiki Farm. We did one at Catalina Island, a tiki show for them and stuff like that. So we've worked with Holden over the last couple of years, and yeah, he produced a mug for us. So.
Cool story. I know you've got, I think since 2006 Kruse Studios over there, so your own art studio. What's your favorite thing to design, and where do you draw your inspiration from?
Because of the band, I don't have a whole lot of time, so I don't do a lot of luxury art. If I had time, I would do a lot more monster art, you know, like Ed Roth. But most of the time when I sit down to work, it's already because I have somebody who's interested in me producing for them. In the past, it's mostly been about T-shirt design. So I do a lot of T-shirt design and logos and stuff like that. And I've been fortunate to keep working towards that. Last year, I had a clothing line with Steady Clothing where I got to design a whole line rather than just 1 or 2 shirts. And then when people start seeing that, more work comes in. So sometimes I get backlogged and I have to make lists of projects I have to do for people. This last year, or actually about a month ago, 6 new designs was released by Caton Surf Company. Mm-hmm. And they're one of the oldest surf companies in Southern California. They've been around since 1959. And they got their start, they were doing sailboats, and guys needed shorts for surfing, so they took the canvas and started making canvas shorts. They were one of the first companies to make canvas board shorts for surfers, and then they started producing over the years more clothing line, and I got to design some shirts for them, and I'm really happy about that because there's a lot of new companies out there doing really cool clothes, but this is one of the original surf companies, so it ties into the band, and it rather than just doing the custom culture art, now I get to do some surfer art too. Mm-hmm. And it just ties everything together. Fits in perfectly.
Okay, back to music. You were talking about your music, about the times that changed. What's, let's say, the soundtrack of your life? What do you listen to when you're at home?
Oh man, it all varies. You know, over the last 10 years, I probably collected over 300 surf albums. A lot of it's on CD. I try to get vinyl, but as time goes on, vinyl gets more and more expensive. So I have a lot of surf music, and when I'm writing music, I'll go back and listen to stuff and get ideas and listen to how they do stuff. And then recently I started working with Tom Ingram as his assistant for Viva Las Vegas. So I have a lot of different music in my life and a lot of different styles. I just basically go on what makes me feel good or whatever my mood is in. In the past I've been in the darker stuff. And sometimes when I draw, I listen to stuff that's really mellow and calming because I tend to drink a lot of coffee and get the shakes. So like I listen to more calming music sometimes just so my hands get steadier. Okay. They're like they have one sound, like a lot of the stuff is similar, and it doesn't jump out at you, and it's really good music for me to draw to. And then I was even into like European bands like Susie and the Banshees. I used to be into a lot of goth when I was younger, and the darker music. So I have stuff like that. And then I also listen to like 70s music like Radio Birdman. Mike Lavelle from Gearhead and Dirty Donnie turned me onto that band. And they were like a Iggy. They used to play with the MC5 and Iggy Pop, and they have like surf tones in them. So it's another crossover band. I listen to all different styles. I grew up. My mother, I guess you could say she was a little weird. She listened to Alice Cooper. So once in a while I'll turn on Alice Cooper and listen. I did a whole painting to the Welcome to My Nightmare album before just to get inspiration. So it all depends, really.
Yeah, but it's really, various styles of music. That's cool. I like that. One last question. What do you yourself expect from the Walldorf Weekender?
I just expect to have a great time and see how people, get into the music over here and how people party. I want to be a part of and have a good time.
Must be very exciting. First time here. Thank you very much, Robert Kruse.
Thank you.
Thanks.